Anyway, so and I've also there's a very good movie called Bloom, by the way, which takes a little bit of Ulysses, and there's also a radio play by the BBC, because the BBC do very good drama.
Right.
You know, you look at you listen to a BBC play, and it's just like being in a movie, because they have all these sound effects and everything. It's just like being all in stereo and things. But they did Ulysses once, and Stephen Ray played Stephen Dedalus.
Right.
And Norman Rodway played Bloom.
Right.
And in this new movie, which 5 years old, Stephen Ray actually plays Bloom. So he's done it, but he's an expert on it.
I want to cut in.
Yeah.
You know, you're doing a one-man show, and it's called A Bit of Irish.
That's right.
Can you tell us about A Bit of Irish? I saw it, and it was a bit of Irish, you know, and I really enjoyed it. Can you tell us what you give us a little stuff?
Well, it's really A Bit of Irish, by the way, is an expression they used to use in England when I was a child. You know, what do you say, Christopher? And I used to tell him, "Oh, Christopher, that sounds like a bit of Irish to me." And it is an expression. It may be an illogical sentence. And so I thought that's a good title for my one-man show. And I remember there was a show by Siobhan McKenna. Was her name Siobhan McKenna? I think
that was her name.
Siobhan who did McKenna. Irish women. So I thought I'd do Irish men. So I used to do a bit of Ulysses, a bit of O'Casey, a bit of Beckett, and then I ran into a bit of copyright trouble. I couldn't do some of them.
Right.
So I stuck to the public domain, and then I put songs in. So it was songs and poems by Yeats, and I used to. There was somebody else I used to do the poetry by. I can't remember at the moment. And I did traditional songs, and a couple of I wrote myself. And I've done it here, Edinburgh, Edinburgh Festival. I did it in London recently. I just finished it in London, and it's called A Bit of Irish. And I got a CD.
Share some of it with us.
Well,
come on.
Well, the opening. Let me tell you a little tale if I have time for this.
Sure.
A little tale.
Yeah.
I used to begin with a portrait of the artist as a young man.
Stephen Dedalus.
The Stephen Dedalus, the James Joyce
James
novel.
Joyce, yeah.
And it would start off, once upon a time, and a very good time it was, a moo cow came down along the road. And I probably did that when you came to see it. Now, I had trouble with the Joyce estate, the grandson. They were asking what I was doing, and I decided to cut it out completely. And I wrote my own opening piece.
Okay.
And that was the beginning of my novel. And that starts off, once upon a time, and a long time ago it was, in the city of Dublin and the land of Ireland, there was a man with a pen. And this man with the pen gave it to a little fella who wrote many a poem, limerick and story. And these poems, limericks and stories spread to the four corners of the world. It was a square world. And the poems, limericks and stories made the earth round, into a great ball surrounded by clouds, as the great man once said. And on it goes like that. That's
lovely. I mean, that's so poetic.
Yeah, and from that, I thought, well, it went on to mention going to school.
Yeah.
And the writer was always a little fella. The little fella who had to meet the big bad bullies when he went to school. The big bad bullies that made him take part in their big bad bumpy games. When all boys at that very early and tender age had to learn how to head the greasy leather orb which they call the football, had to find out that most of the bullies were the teachers. Teachers who took great delight and unnatural pleasure in striking many a poor child across the backside with their pens, with their slippers and canes. But the writer would get his own back on the big bad bullies, for he would write about them. And sometimes, but not often, the big bad bully would read what the little fella had written and knock the bejesus out of him. Break his glasses, break his pen, and burn his books at 451 degrees Fahrenheit. But there was always someone to come and pick up that pen and look up to the stars for inspiration, and the man with the pen would look down and give it. And that's my prologue. That's some of the prologue. Right. Although I don't pause so much on the page, you just read straight through it. And I looked at that, and then I was spending some time at home because I had a bit of a thyroid problem 2 or 3 years ago. And I could write a novel about that, so I thought I'd write a novel. And I think I could do it in a month. It actually took me 2 years.
Best laid plans of mice and men.
Yeah, but somebody said, you know, if you keep writing every day, Walter Mosley, I saw him at the Festival of Books last year. You keep writing that novel every day. If you've got time to do other things, you know, you should be writing that novel. Give yourself 2 hours every day or 3 hours, whatever it is. At the end of 6 months, you'll have a novel.
Give us a little Yeats. Is it Yeats or Yeats?
Yeats.
Yeats?
Okay, I went down to the hazelwood because a fire was in my head, and cut and peeled a hazel wand and hooked a berry to a thread. And when white moths were on the wing and moth-like stars were flickering out, I dropped the berry in a stream and caught a little silver trout. When I had laid it on the floor, I went to blow the fire aflame, but something rustled on the floor, and someone called me by my name. It had become a glimmering girl with apple blossoms in her hair, who called me by my name and ran and vanished through the brightening air.
Bravo! Bravo! Bravo!
Yeah, I'm bringing these all forward.
Yeah. Do you have a little ditty you can sing me? You know, we only got a couple of more minutes of our show.
Let me think of something that...
Yeah, like, well, something that perhaps is part of your show, a little song or
'twas
something.
Down by Christ Church that I first met with Annie, a gentle young maiden and not a bit shy. She told me her daddy, who came from Dungannon, would take her back home in the sweet by and by. And what's it to any man whether or no, whether I'm easy or whether I'm true? As she lifted her petticoat easy and slow, and I tied up his sleeve for to buckle her shoe. Here we are.
Wow, that's very...
not bad.
Moving.
But
go ahead.
My mother used to say, but she heard that song, and she used to say, I was down by the quays with your father, and there was an old woman come up to her and said, "Mister, will you come over here and do up me shoe?" Because they had all the clothes on, you see, in the picture. And your father bent down and tied up her shoe. You know, cheeky old what's it she was. You know, I always think about my mother when that song. I used to do that in my show. Yeah. And of course, I do that unaccompanied. That's why I thought about that one.
You know that we've got about 45 seconds left to go. Yeah, you know, you're a really very talented gentleman, Chris Sullivan. And can you give some advice to people in the audience who are interested in the field and interested in
starting as an actor? You mean,
or as a writer? I mean, putting your show together.
Well, putting your show together, just try and find a subject. That's the main thing. Something you really want to do, something that you can do or you can eventually do, and then sit looking at the wall and practice. You're not by yourself.
Keep practicing.
Yeah.
You know, I have a script under the table, weighs about 20 pounds. I was thinking if you produced it, you know a lot of people.
I know. I'll do it. Send it to me.
Christopher Sullivan, my great guest. Thank you for appearing here. And, you know, maybe after we'll go to the farmer's market and have a cup of coffee or something like that. And a donut, no less. But, you know, I mean, you have a great wealth of reading knowledge. Interpretation of James Joyce, which I'm ignorant of.
Oh, well, thank you very much indeed.
Can you tutor me?